Welcome back viewers, ladies, gentlemen, non-binaries and anyone with ears or other sound detection organs. Hope you enjoy. We are continuing with Chaos and Mayhem written by Lord Henry 7878. There is a link to the playlist in the doobly-doo. Chaos and Mayhem, a sexy space babes story part 35. While a crazed band of murder kitties plagued the nobility up and down the East Coast, Uncle Bill was busy causing his own brand of situation. For the last few weeks, he'd been attempting to find out where the Shilvati had taken Tom. Well, he'd been trying since Delaware, but he hadn't had a lead till a few weeks ago, when he stumbled across references to a purity control. He'd heard the name before. That was the project then Captain Rushdi wanted the governess killed for. The plan had gone together easy. One of his guys was busy setting up the hack, but if the shill noticed it, things would be all over. So, Uncle Bill was running interference. Ever since the attack on the Capitol in Delaware, the new human security forces had been roaming the street. It had been easy to source some of their armor and a few sniper rifles. The target was a few buildings in Baltimore. Medium height, nondescript, so on. One was a parking garage. One thing he'd made very clear, though, was that the rifles were to be loaded with blanks. He was no mass shooter. He did, however, keep some cases of actual ammo on hand just in case. The important part was that the buildings were all connected by underground tunnels. Once these were all mapped, he spent weeks setting up blinds throughout the buildings and hiding his equipment. And now it was show time. Uncle Bill stood on the 4th floor of the parking garage. He reached under the car that he'd parked weeks ago and pulled out the case. Opening it up, he assembled the rifle and positioned it. He watched the clock on his phone. His guy started the hack at 3:30. Uncle Bill wanted a 20-minute window. 3:09. 3:10. Uncle Bill squeezed the trigger. At the sound of a gunshot, people ran for it. Baltimore, at least, had been a green zone. People here weren't shrugging off the sound of gunfire with a healthy schadenfreude. He watched the people run with a certain amount of relief. No way they'd be caught in the crossfire now. And oh, right on cue. The local Marines were showing up, with their pet humans in tow. Uncle Bill had specifically selected his setup areas with no cameras. Nobody would see him don his disguise. He put on the armor and started walking to his next spot, but hid in the closet for a bit. The security forces needed to spread out reasonably first.
Captain Alensis Anacrati scanned the structure with a pair of binoculars the humans had loaned her.
Okay, she muttered. People claim the shot came from the parking garage. One of the security guys nodded and went back to barking orders as two others set up a bulky device that resembled a ball of spikes. What in the name of the Empress's left tit is that? She muttered. Sniper detector. Human machine. One of the guys said in heavily accented shill. Measure sound, pressure. Tell us where, long shooter be. He seemed so proud. No sooner had he said that than another shot rang out. Find the shooter. She yelled. One of the guys looked at his omnipad. The first shooting in garage. But second shooting in work building. That wasn't good. I think we have multiple snipers. Nacrati yelled as the Marines took cover. Others set up portable barricades.
Uncle Bill made his way through the basement.
He'd heard voices come and go, so he figured he was safe. He'd had to ditch the shield on his arm though. That thing was annoying. Luckily, some of the others had the same idea. Hey! He jogged after a few other security officers. See anything? Not a thing. Whoever this guy is, he's good. The HUD in the helmet gave Uncle Bill all sorts of information on the other squad members' names, ranks, equipment. It was useful. He wondered who he registered as. Uncle Bill felt a little surge of pride at that. You simply didn't beat a little creativity. Buat. If you're heading to the East Building, make sure you check every floor. We only have enough guys to cover a few at a time. Will do. The guys surged off. Uncle Bill suppressed a grin. He hadn't stashed any rifles there. He was going to keep as many as he could corralled there while he fired off another. Speaking of, Uncle Bill made a right into the next office and assembled the rifle in there. This one was a walnut-stocked Marlin 1895. He took aim and squeezed the trigger. Uncle Bill knew the security officials would be running for this room. He quickly unscrewed the bulbs from the floor lamp and replaced them with his own before GTF oil. As soon as he hid under the desk in a cubicle, he heard a distant thump. Those replacement bulbs were full of gunpowder. A quick surprise for everybody. Once Uncle Bill made it to the next spot, he was going to have to use live ammunition. He was sure they'd figured out he was using blanks by now. That was a sobering thought, he figured, as he garroted one of the security officials in the third-floor kitchen and stuffed him in the pantry. Once Uncle Bill was back out in the offices, he slid under the desks as he made his way to his next sniper spot. He took a Barrett from its spot in the ceiling and exchanged the magazine. Blanks for real. This time something was gonna be broken. Uncle Bill got behind an overturned desk, took aim and fired. He could see glass shattering in one of those Humvee-looking things. Hell, the window rained down around him. Uncle Bill looked at his watch. He had to keep this up for another hour.
Captain N.A. Crady flinched as another shot was fired.
The difference though, this time, was that the engine on one of the human vehicles went up with a puff of smoke. Her Marines and the security officials ran for cover. Command, the sniper has destroyed one of our transports. Request permission to deploy inside the structure. Permission denied, said the lady on the other end. Crady grimaced. Probably holding them back so some stupid noble's daughter could storm in and save the day. That was always how it went. Listen, you stupid stiff, my girls' lives are at stake. So you can tell whatever noblewoman has your clit in a vice. There's no noblewoman, the voice said. We have deployed Death's Head troopers to your location. She hung up.
Uncle Bill fired off his next shot.
This one took out a chunk of a park bench and probably scared the Marine behind it half to death. He was busy disassembling the rifle when he heard a certain hissing noise. That was the sound of those troop transport dropship things. He quickly put the rifle back together. He wasn't too worried about the roof. Uncle Bill always covered his exits. He'd set up a few tripwires attached to surprises up there. As if on cue, he heard a dull thump. With luck, that lessened his workload. He hefted his current rifle, a custom .338, and stalked off down the hall. There was a central atrium in the middle of the building. Things seemed to gravitate towards it. Try as he might not, Uncle Bill wound up in there. And there they were. The guests. Uncle Bill held back in a hallway, observing the soldiers on the ledge around the room through his scope. These didn't look like regular Marines. They were more technological. Those masks were really, really cool. All sorts of machinery bits and art done up on them. He'd seen soldiers like these once before, when he helped assassinate the governess. These were Death's Heads. Uncle Bill was so screwed. He squeezed the trigger. It was deafening inside, but the commando he'd fired at barely flinched and looked down where she'd been shot. Oh shit! Uncle Bill rarely swore in the field, but this was one of those times. The Death's Head Commando straight up jumped across the atrium to his side of the ledge, landing hard enough to dent the metal. Uncle Bill fired again. This time the commando staggered. It wasn't much, but it was enough for him to run for it. He rounded the corner, back up the stairs, and ripped a fire extinguisher off the wall. As the Death's Head came up the stairs, he swung, sending the commando sailing back down the stairs into the wall. Uncle Bill jumped down after it, her, him, it, and started wailing on it with the red metal tank. Plastic and whatever fuck material started to crack when the commando threw him off and stood up. It, picked him up again and threw him over the side to the next flight of stairs below. Uncle Bill groaned as he landed hard. Perhaps 73 was getting a little too old for this shit. He dragged himself out the door and down the hall, slowly getting back to his feet. Was Uncle Bill in another kitchen? That was the great thing about these business park things. Every building had its own kitchen. He tore open the fridge and seized a bottle of water. Chew Gallag. When he put the bottle down, however, there she was, the commando. Uncle Bill threw the rest of the bottle at her and grabbed the microwave. He repeatedly bashed the commando in the face with it till the mask shattered. Uncle Bill could see the shill underneath. One more swing of the microwave and a smashed tusk clattered to the floor. A final smash crumpled her skull like a balloon, blue blood oozing out beneath. He wanted to sit there and just breathe, but he needed to act fast. No doubt there was a helmet cam. They'd be expecting a guy in security official armor covered in Shilvati blood, no doubt. Uncle Bill hunted down one of the guys who'd fallen prey to one of his traps. After checking for cameras, he switched uniforms. No doubt they were expecting shill blood, not human. He limped off and rejoined his brothers in arms. He'd make his exfil when they left. As he followed the survivors out, another of the Death's Head commandos stopped him. You see, she must have had to think of the word. Far shooter, human. I killed him, Uncle Bill said. He's dead a few floors up. Thank you, she said sadly. The optic thingy in his helmet claimed she had the nickname Popper. That was kinda cute. End of chapter. If you enjoyed, like, subscribe, click the bell so you don't miss any episode and do all the other YouTube stuff, visit and support the author, all the relevant links are in the doobly-doo, and comment your opinions, good or bad. And I'll see you next time. And as usual, have a wonderful day.